Hello, hello. Well, that's very loud. Hello, hello. Uh, I'm still figuring out how this works. I used to know. Come on, stop. There we go. Okay. I got something live.
Oh, and already a technical difficulty. Hello. Hi,
Shit.
everybody. Welcome to our no longer bi-monthly dev stream. This is the Airborne preview update that we
With
are
game
going to be
capture.
presenting to you today. And we have a ton of stuff to
I don't know
talk
what the
about.
fuck this is.
And while we have not talked in a really long time here in Foxhole Land, I'm going to hand it over to Mark so that he can catch you up and we can start showing you all the stuff that we've been working on.
Yeah, it's been a big update and finally excited. We've been holding on to this for a long time and we're finally really excited to show you guys what we've been working on all this time. First, I want to just talk a little bit about what led to this update. You know, we for those that are new, we set out to build Foxhole.
Whatever.
Almost 10 years now, just about getting around that mark. We set out to build this persistent online war where there's thousands of players working together, not just on the combat side, but for every aspect of the war, making items, running supply lines, every
There you go.
we wanted it to be driven by players.
Okay, you can hear me?
Really just a few simple
principles
that we've stuck to over the years. We've always tried to prioritize the gameplay. We haven't been afraid to try new things or to take risks, even
there you go.
if sometimes we miss the mark on some of these things, which we have. We've always tried to just continue to work at it, to iterate, to improve upon. But we've never shied away from trying to tackle big new features that we felt were crucial to fulfill the vision of the game, which Airborne is one of those, as you'll hopefully see today. And what we're going to show you today represents just one of the bigger steps in the journey. It's been one of the hardest dates we've
This is definitely one of the bigger steps here in the journey.
And after 63 updates, and yeah, there's a lot of parts of this. It's not only Airborne. There's
this is just a couple seconds delay here,
and we're excited to show it. So, just wanted to show a brief update for, again, those that are new, joined us over the last year. Here's just
I love
summary of some
all
of the
previous
updates we've done over the years.
Honestly, I don't really remember all the previous ones.
It's just nice to see it all in one place here. There's actually more updates
I know this
than what's
part
shown here, but we got to the point where we couldn't fit it all on one screen. So, but yeah, let's jump into the first part of the update here, which isn't planes, but it's something cool. So,
oh no, they're not starting with planes. I mean, they're always saving the best for last, so that's fine. You're rigged. Oh. Oh, what? Okay. they kind of look the same. Oh, that looks good though. People saying Anvil vibes. Oh, of course they need to have like a sky layer. But holy shit, that looks good. And the clouds.
Yeah, so this is the
I just
first
forgot.
big feature we want to show off with the update.
Foliage, grass,
We've
landscape
done
materials.
a overhaul of
Town
all the
material?
visuals,
Town?
of
Okay.
the environment visuals in the game, to be specific.
For each biome, northern,
and
central, southern.
There's a couple of goals that we had for this. One is that we felt that other parts of the game, like the vehicles and the structures, had
For higher
increased,
altitude camera.
we've increased the visual quality of them over the years as we've worked on the game. And one thing that we wanted to do was to go back to the actual world and the environment and to bring the visuals of those parts of the game up to the standards of everything else. So,
Yo, does that mean that
this was a
Deadlands
massive
is finally
effort.
fixed?
We've updated every tree, every blade of grass, every bush in the game. And we've also done this for each of the biomes in the game. We had to create new art for all of this, but the result is an environment that looks a lot more up to date with the rest of the game. And another
they're
big
talking about
goal of this
biomes.
was when we came
Maybe this
to
new
work
biome.
on Airborne, we really wanted to make sure that the world looked appropriate from
Desert
high
biome?
up in the sky, and a lot
Swamp?
of the environment that
I mean, we
had
can already swamps.
originally made was not made to look appropriate from that high of a camera angle. So besides the actual visual art, we also did a bunch of engineering work to make rendering look appropriate from the sky. In fact, when we first tested out flying planes, the world looked very strange. A lot of the environment was not visible because of the way that the world was rendered.
I remember that
And
we
had to do a
had
lot
like
of work,
the
into making sure
Warden
that
Space
shadows
program
and
where we
structures
launched
and
people across
rocks and
like the
trees
hex.
were all being shown
Never
from
used it,
afar.
you know, for any
And this has just been a massive
reason
massive,
except for like trolling. But
massive effort. When you
that's
design
when we
a
like
game to
really
be
saw
made
that
on the ground initially, and later on you want
it's
to
kind of fucked.
make the game playable from the sky, it is a lot of work. So we're really excited about this. But Matt, maybe you can talk a little bit more about the process here.
Oh
Yeah, so one of the big things that we wanted to do was to make sure that the game still felt like Foxhole. We didn't want it to suddenly become something new or like hyper realistic, but we wanted to bring some of the visuals more in line, both thematically as well as just with the way that the art had kind of evolved in different ways. And so I wouldn't expect there to be like a whole bunch of new like little details or like facets to the
So
world
I
that weren't there
think
before. It's just that a lot of
this is one of those things that
the
we don't
world has
really
been
notice
updated,
that
especially
much
like we're talking like the natural
when
environment,
we're
so
going into it,
foliage, grass.
but we know it's like
Some of
notice
the,
it a lot
you
when
know,
we're
some of
going
the town
back.
textures and things like that have been updated. And one of the places that I think
there's
especially
Deadlands.
benefits a lot from the work that we've done here is the northern biome, which was a little bit flat, in my opinion, previously. It was something that we had worked really hard to try to figure out, but there wasn't really too many good solutions at the time for the way that we were doing some of the art, our workflow. So we also changed the workflow for how a lot of this stuff is done, which allows us to get a little bit more out of every like inch of the world without having to do a ton of like manual like work that would be otherwise incredibly time consuming for a team as small as ours. So we were able to take some of our experience and reapply it, given that we were doing this big overhaul. So a lot of what you're going to see is new areas that maybe feel like they have pretty old areas, sorry, that maybe feel like they have a fresh coat of paint. And it'll be kind of exciting to see how
I mean, I'm mostly excited about
like
Deadlands,
videos
honestly.
and things like that come about as you guys dig into this. But one of the other big things is we are doing our absolute.
I'm gonna refresh this a little bit because I feel like I'm behind a little bit behind chat. Click the mute. What the fuck?
The Foxhole GeoGuessr is going to need some major updates.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now let's we said that, let's get into the meat of the update. So let's talk about airborne, right? So one of the things
Oh
we
shit.
did at the beginning was we wanted to set our goals straight for this update because
Cohesion
our
with
goal was
land and
not to
naval.
build the best flight simulator or to try to make a game to try to build an aircraft game that is comparable to other aircraft focused games. Our goal was to build the best thing that will make the parts of Foxhole special even more special, right? So we wanted to enhance the persistent war, and what we wanted to do was not only worry about what you're doing in the sky, but to worry about what's happening on the ground. Questions like how do you build a plane? That should be a big deal in Foxhole. How do you supply the plane? How do ground crews keep your aircraft operational? These were the parts of
Oh,
um,
okay. How do ground crews
aircraft and
keep
aircraft gameplay that
their
we
plane
wanted to
operational?
focus the most on, and we also wanted to just make sure that it worked really well with the land and the naval warfare
Cohesion.
games as well. And
I love that part.
finally, large scale player collaboration. We want to make sure that the big focus was on working together. If you're up
'Cause I
in the
feel like
skies,
we're missing a
you
little
can
bit
be
of
most
cohesion
effective not
between
by flying alone on your own trying to
some
be a
parts of
hero,
the
but
game.
to work together with your crew on the ground. So that was a big focus of the gameplay. And without further ado, we want to give you guys a first look at how flying planes looks like in Foxhole. Let's take a look.
How flying looks like. Okay. Fully player. Oh, holy shit. Bro. What? Oh, this is also the new Deadlands. Oh, that looks sick. Blemish? He's just completely diving it. What? Oh. One had. Oh my god, that's just artillery damage. Oh, parts of the aircraft get destroyed. What?
All right, that's how aircraft are going to work in Foxhole. So let's just talk about some of the basics first. Aircraft are fully controlled by players. It kind of goes without saying. There's different types of
Fighters,
aircraft.
bombers,
There's
scout
fighters.
planes,
There's bombers. There's scout
specialized.
planes. Other types of planes. And one of the things that we've done is we've chosen a level of simulation here for the planes that's designed to feel similar to other parts of the game. So we weren't trying to make an accurate flight simulator. We wanted to make it feel like it's in the same style of the infantry gameplay, of the vehicle
Skill
gameplay,
is required to fly.
and the naval gameplay that we already
Okay.
had. But one thing that is a slight difference is that a high level of skill, more so than other parts of the game, more skill is required in to fly. Um, there is
Okay.
failure in flying. When you take off and land, these are things that you have to practice to try to get right. It's not something that you can necessarily get right on the first try. And that's in part because the flight model was made to feel physically based, as parts of your aircraft are wrecked, or the physics model will react to that and the plane becomes
Yeah, I
harder to
saw the
fly.
whole physics
So
model where things are
that's all
breaking
to
apart
say
and
that
everything.
the flying experience is going to be a
Crushing
step up
ejection.
from driving a boat or driving a tank in the game. And to that end, crashing is a part of the game as well. And there is an eject function as well. You can eject from your plane if you're equipped with a parachute, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. Then you can survive the crash. Finally, aircraft can cross the region borders similar to the land vehicles. And to get a little bit more into user interface, talking about aircraft being a bit more skill-based, more information was required for the player on the HUD.
Okay.
So this is what the aircraft HUD looks like in game. And to go over a couple of these things here, the VSI and the heading are there, useful to help players find
landing gear.
to locate
Okay.
airfields and to land. And then the
Display
altitude and
vertical
the
speed?
ground instruments are there to
Okay.
help you do a pair drop, or if you're doing a bombing run, that's information that it is critical for that. And also there's a landing gear indicator because that's a big part of taking
Crashing.
off and landing. And then finally the altitude indicator here just helps. It's an indicator that is on not only your plane but on the planes around you. And
Look
then
at
the next thing
top
I want
left.
to talk about is
It's the
uniforms.
20 mil.
So pilot uniforms are required to fly most planes in the game. And one thing to note is that the uniforms themselves are valuable. And the other thing, moreover, to state, which we'll get into more later, is that the planes themselves are extremely valuable resources, and the uniforms and the pilot themselves is considered a part of that value. So when you're flying up there,
so the uniform is kind of expensive.
Want to prefer to salvage your plane as opposed to crashing it, and that's both because of the plane and the pilot uniform. But I do want to note that there are some planes in the game, specifically the scout plane, that it doesn't require a pilot uniform, and therefore it's more accessible to more players. So not everyone is gonna have to engage with this high value planes. Everyone's gonna get a chance to fly. And to jump ahead here to the roles, so there's like Foxhole Fashion, there's different roles that players can take on.
Co-pilot. What the fuck
obviously, there's the pilots, there's the gunners, and that works very similar to how it works in other vehicles. There's other roles here, like the bomber role. You're there to manage the bay doors and to drop the bombs, and
click the button.
There's also a co-pilot role on planes like the paratrooper plane that's responsible for opening the ramp for a paradrop. And then there's also other roles here, like managing the air brake on some planes like the dive bomber.
Managing
Moving
the
on to
air brake, okay.
Air-to-air combat for a moment here. So fighters can intercept and engage the bombers, paratrooper planes, and other aircraft. And those aircraft themselves can fight back the fighters. And
it's really cool to see like a single-seated vehicle.
The damage models on the planes. So
holy shit, that has
here.
like
So
double gun on it.
The damage model is a big part of the gameplay. Aircraft consist of different parts: wings, tails, and engines, and these parts can be wrecked or totaled. And as that happens, as damage is taken, the function of the aircraft will start to fail in different ways. The aircraft is going to be harder to fly, and the physics are going to react to it, right? So if your wing is torn off, you will start to struggle. If your tail is torn off, you will start to struggle even more, and you probably won't be able to fly the plane anymore. But as mentioned about the value of the plane, you will want to land your plane at that point and try to salvage it as opposed to crashing. So a big part of the game is trying to manage when it's time to return to your airfield and to try to fix your plane as opposed to losing it out there.
Ooh, okay.
And at this point, Max, I think I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, we had a lot of fun with this. So an aircraft can we are simulating a simple form of physics with these aircraft. So a lot of what I learned a lot about how aircraft works from working on these aircraft. But you'll
Aircraft works.
start to get a sense for it once you start to feel the aircraft fall apart. Exactly how integrated the physics are into these aircraft. So, for example, when a wing
looks
gets
like
wrecked,
they're-
like you can see in the top left there, the lift of that wing is going to decrease, which is going to tilt the aircraft to the left and sort of pull the aircraft left. But you can offset that by using your rudder or your elevators to sort of shift right. And like I said, you'll get a sense for it once you're actually flying it. But it's really cool that as the aircraft starts to fall apart, as parts become damaged or wrecked and destroyed, that the aircraft starts to lose its functionality, starts to become harder to maneuver, might even like start to climb and stall out. So the more practice you have in these aircraft, the better you're going to be as a pilot, but also the more likely you are going to be able to return to the airfield if you're taking significant damage. And as Mark pointed out, you'll want to try to recover the aircraft, even if you are taking tremendous amounts of damage. Even if you can't make it all the way back to the airfield, you might aim to land in friendly territory, for example, because even recovering parts of the plane would be a significant advantage or a significant cost savings to replacing it.
All right, bombing
So there's a
runs.
lot of different kinds of actions that you can take as these aircraft. We've got the bombing runs, which
bombing?
you're meant to
Different
target
from bombing.
land targets like
Against
facilities
naval.
and,
Okay.
soft structures. You can damage bunkers as well, but the expectation here is you should need
Torpedoes.
a number of bombers to be able to do significant damage. We have dive bombers, which will be able to target land and sea vehicles. They'll have bonuses to subsystem disable chances. Torpedo planes, which obviously target ships. We got some really cool mechanics with that as well, which we'll get into later. And strafing runs. So the fighters will be able to target, like, they're predominantly meant for targeting logistics and disrupting like ground-based, like back behind the lines efforts. But you can also strafe frontline targets. But fighters have other roles as well, like protecting against bombing runs and shooting down scout planes.
All right, let's take a look at anti-air.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I mean, this was expected, honestly. Okay, but how are you aiming that one? Whoa, 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 what? What is... Oh. Wait, you just put like a 75 mil in that?
Someone in chat is like, "How do you even target?" Yeah, you'll see. It's fun. So there'll be two kinds of machine guns. There'll be two kinds of anti-air that you can utilize against the aircraft. Some of the machine guns will be able to tilt up and be able to target aircraft directly, like fighters when you're coming in for a strafing run. Many of the ships will be able to do this. So true to history, the machine guns on the decks of the ships will help prevent like runs against the ship. And then we have these cannons, which are these anti-air emplacements, these flat guns, which will operate very similarly to artillery. They shoot into the sky, and you have to try to land hits. There'll be an explosion that lingers in the air that planes could fly through and take damage, again, true to history. And it will require team effort to try to hit something moving that fast, that high.
All right, we'll just take a really quick look at the emplacements for each side.
Yeah, so this is the Colonial one. Both of these, the Colonial one and the Warden one, are very similar in functionality. There'll be one gunner who's there for to rotate it and also set the range, and the one gunner who actually has to set the pitch as well. So it's not done automatically. You have to figure out the pitch for the gun that needs to point up, and then try to figure that out or figure out the pitch needed to get the elevation you want to hit the aircraft in the sky. Here's the Warden one. Again, functionality is very similar. Cool. So how do you spot them coming? How do you know when to get onto the AA guns? Well, we've got a couple of forms of air intelligence. We've actually split intel between land and air, so you can't see both at the same time. You'll want to see, so you'll have to set up specific structures for detecting aircraft, and then you'll have to utilize them for alerting your team that there's an air operation underway. So this is the radar structure. This is a new large structure, which has two functions. One is the detection of air intel, similar to like a watchtower, but for detecting aircraft. It has a very large cone that you can rotate, so you can point it in the direction that you want it to face for detecting aircraft. It also has a seat that will be useful for the aforementioned pitch, trying to figure out the range, the distance for artillery batteries to target aircraft. So you'll want to place your AA batteries near these structures to maximize your effectiveness.
Right. Now let's talk about aircraft logistics with this video coming up.
There's a lot of questions in chat. I just want to remind you guys, we will do Reddit QA later, so don't worry about it. As Mark said for earlier on, the emphasis that we really wanted, we didn't want to lose focus of what Foxhole really is. This Foxhole is a game that takes place on the ground. It's a logistics game. It's an infantry game. It's a tank game, a naval game. Everything that happens on the ground should be as important as everything new that we're adding here. So Airborne, as much as it is the center of this update, we also wanted to make sure that we brought it back down to earth. What is it that you need to do to get aircraft running? What do you need to do to keep it maintained? A lot of our effort, like we said in the dev blog back in December, is supposed to be focused on the ground crews. It's well and good that it takes a lot of skill to be a pilot in the air, but you have to. What good is a pilot without the team that's dedicated to keeping their aircraft in tip-top shape? So, toward that end, we have airfields. These are placed throughout the world. These are world structures. But they are not the only places where you can take off some aircraft. So the airfields will be required for specific air operations. It will consist of three main structures: the runway itself, which has two tiers for smaller, tier 1 for smaller aircraft, tier 2 for larger. It's got a hangar for building the smaller aircraft, like the scout planes, and it's got an aircraft depot for storing the planes and constructing them and bringing stuff in. And it sort of acts as the central logistical point for that airfield. Think of it kind of like a seaport, but for aircraft. So how we build the aircraft. So this is where a lot of the teamwork comes in. So just like with large ships, how it requires a whole team to operate, not just people manning the guns, but people maintaining the ship itself. There will need to be a team of people who are keeping your aircraft running. And furthermore, they need to be out in the open. We really wanted it to be not some like UI thing. We wanted it to be all out in the open. You could see people walking around on the airfield, putting stuff together. So you'll build the airframe, which is constructed at the large assembly station. You'll bring that to the depot, which creates this, you can see in the background image, this kind of like airframe that's sort of missing all of its parts. Then you'll construct the parts, bring them over on trailers and small trains, and then submit them to the aircraft to put it together. There'll be many different kinds of parts that you need to for different kinds of aircraft, and then you'll need to produce the ammunition at factories and at the ammunition factories. An important note is that even a lot of this sounds really complicated, and it's meant to be a team effort, but there is a small aircraft, that scout plane, that you can build without doing any of this. That doesn't need any facilities or anything. So smaller groups of players can choose to operate smaller aircraft, which will have less complexity. But even solo players can get a taste of flight by playing in the scout plane without dealing with any of this stuff. So here's a screenshot of here's screenshots of generally what this will look like. You'll need to refuel your aircraft, which will be a huge part of aircraft. Having airfields that are close to the front will allow you to refuel them and get more flight time and give you an advantage in dogfights or in operational range. You'll need to assemble them together as a team. This can take time, and disassemble as well for repairing. When aircraft takes damage, it's a process to get those parts repaired. You'll need to take them off. You'll need to repair the underlying core structure, and you'll need to rearm them as well. You'll have to bring in the ammunition necessary. Some of them are large items, some of them are not. And yeah, it should be. Our expectation is that over time, or is that there will be a whole host of people on the ground. Air traffic controllers, even repair crew directors, people needed to keep flights of aircraft in the sky.
Awesome. And I think we're about on schedule, Max, for this next part, which I'm personally pretty excited about. So let's get to it. All right, let's talk about paratroopers. So, just to talk about how you equip and prepare for a paratrap, you obviously need a paratrooper plane. You need a pilot and a co-pilot to fly it. And if you want to suit up, you need a uniform and a paratrooper backpack, which obviously contains the paratrooper. I mean, the parachute. And everybody walks onto the ramp, and they load up onto the paratrooper plane, and the pilot flies it to the target location. The co-pilot will open the ramp, and to actually paradrop, it doesn't take much. You just walk off the ramp, and your parachute will automatically open. And then that's essentially how it works if you want to drop behind enemy lines. One important feature here is that once you jump out and once you hit the ground, paratroopers will be invisible to map intel for a period of time after dropping. Right now, that's around 30 minutes, but that time duration is obviously subject to change. And we'll just want to take a look at the two uniforms here. Here's the Colonial uniform, and here is the Warden one. And then there's also the backpack item here that is required to drop. And just to note, if you can jump out without a parachute, which is not a good idea. If you're over encumbered, your parachute will fail to deploy as well. So it's possible to have accidents, and you need to be prepared. So, and having said that, I think it's time to look at the aircraft for each faction. And I guess we will start with the Colonials here. All right.
Man, it's hard to believe how much time has gone by since we started working on these. It's been like 8 months. I know you get the community. You probably felt like it's been years, but
Oh,
we've
it's been
working
a
on
lot
these for-
longer than that. When we started working on the prototype, it's been almost 2 years. So
That's true.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you
Yeah,
want to get
yeah.
really, really technical, I mean, we did a prototype of this like 5 years ago or something.
I think we started. I think we started writing code about 2 years ago. I could be off by a couple of months, but yeah, I think it's been about 2 years. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. All right, so let's go through these aircraft one at a time. Let's give you guys a general sense of what we're expecting to see from them. But of course, a reminder that a lot of this stuff could change in Dev Branch, so try to take that with a grain of salt. This is the Colonial Scout plane. This is the plane that you will be flying if you're just a solo player and you just want to get into the sky and see what it's like. The purpose of this aircraft is it can drop mines, surface water mines, which we'll get into a little bit later. And it has very limited ammo for dogfighting, but it can potentially fight other scout planes, and it can also do a couple of strafing runs. The Colonial Fighter. This is kind of the centerpiece of all of the planes. It kind of functions as the linchpin for the entire arsenal. It's predominantly used for countering other aircraft. If an enemy is doing a bombing run, for example, this is the premier way of stopping it. It's also used for dogfighting other fighters. It shoots down scout planes pretty well. And it takes only one pilot. So, but again, as we said earlier, the ground crew is important too. You will have to keep these things rearmed and refueled. The dive bomber. This is my personal favorite.
This is one of my favorite. It's so fun. I don't know.
It's so fun.
It's so fun to play this.
You can drop. So yeah. So this is able to drop bombs on both tanks and ships. Its main advantage is that it damages the turret, or it has subsystem disable chances. So if you're attacking ships, for example, you'll want to try your best to get a precise hit on the turrets in order to disable them. And that's why it's a dive bomber. The act of diving down towards the ship is what gives it its accuracy, and to try to drop that bomb exactly where you need it to go will be important for the effectiveness of this.
And there's actually another function for the gunner role, right, Max? You want to talk about
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that's right. The rear gunner will help protect the plane from fighters, for example, that are on its tail, but it also has an air brake. So the gunner will be able to initiate an air brake, which will slow its descent, making that targeted hit a little bit easier, but that will require good teamwork and skill. The paratrooper plane. So yeah, as Mark said, you'll be able to launch air operations and drop partisans behind enemy lines. They'll be invisible to intel for about 30 minutes, again, subject to change for balance. I want to just state that, like, for the longest time, partisans have been struggling in our game. Logistics is such a core part of our game. We had to be very careful not to disrupt their experience too much. And this paratrooper plane is kind of our opportunity to go back to some of that original partisan experience. Feeling unsafe in the back lines is supposed to be a part of Foxhole, but we need to make sure that that's carefully balanced. So we're going to be listening to you guys' feedback about that, but keep that in mind. The goal here is to ruffle some feathers a little bit. The Colonial Heavy Bomber, this tremendous number of bombs, and it does a tremendous amount of damage. But the expectation here is that you should need a flight of them. It shouldn't just be one guy in one bomber doing tremendous amounts of damage. It's supposed to be a whole wing of them flying in formation, trying to drop their bombs on the same target. If you can do that, this thing will be extremely devastating. And one of the most effective ways to counter it will be with fighters. So you'll want to protect them as well. You'll want to have fighter wings running alongside them, and possibly escape routes. If it starts to take damage and starts to go down, you'll want to try to find a way to recover them without going down behind enemy lines.
All right, that does it for the Colonial aircraft lineup, and now let's move on to the Wardens.
Cool. The Warden Scout plane. I forgot to mention this about the Colonial Scout plane. They both float on water, as you can see from the videos, which will be important later. Again, we'll talk more about it later. Similar to the Colonial Scout plane, this one, or recon plane, this Warden recon plane drops a mini torpedo. So again, useful over water, meant to counter small ships. It's got limited ammo capacity for shooting its machine gun, but its primary purpose is to support early game and small ship naval. The Warden Sea Fighter. So this is an extra plane, which I'll talk more about a little bit later, but this is an extra plane that the Wardens get that the Colonials don't. So you'll notice the Wardens actually get this one extra fighter, and I will explain why later. This is a fighter. It's more limited in its ammo capacity. It's slower in speed than the Warden fighter, but it does provide some more short-range options, like being able to land and take off from water. The Warden fighter. This one is is symmetrical to the Colonial one, but they're not exactly the same. They both have a different feel to it. But this one has a 14.5 millimeter cannon, which is actually the AT rifle ammo, the 20 millimeter that you guys are used to. We just changed we're changing the name because 20 millimeter was a little ridiculous that people were walking around with that. So it's got the secondary armament is an AT rifle that will allow it to target lighter vehicles like armored cars, on the ground, as well as strafing targets. Torpedo bomber. This one is my second favorite ship, and they're pretty close between this one and the dive bomber. This one drops 2 torpedoes. What I love about this one is to get the torpedoes into it's loaded up. You have to do the wrench thing, just like the submarines, which I just think feels really, really great. When you drop torpedoes, this is important. Take notes. When you drop torpedoes, you have to be a certain height above the water. If you're too high above the water, it'll detonate on the surface. But even at the height, if you're too high, the torpedo has to sort of go down into the water and then come back up to the surface. So if you're still pretty high, but and you drop the torpedo, you could miss your target by having the torpedo basically go under the ship that you're trying to hit. So you want to try to give yourself a lot of run time, and you want to try to get as close to the surface of the water as possible to keep the torpedo on the surface.
Actually, it's funny, Max, because I felt the same about the dive bomber being my favorite first, and then I saw this one in action later on. And I'm like, I think I'm changing my position.
Yeah.
You guys are wrong. The dive bomber is cool.
So here's the paratrooper plane. Again, similar to the Colonial one, this one functions a little bit differently with where the parts are located, but generally speaking, it's pretty similar. There's actually something I forgot to mention about the previous paratrooper plane. They also carry crates. This one carries a little bit more than the Colonial one, but they can carry crates on them, which are represented on the interior, which can be used for delivering them from airfield to airfield. So if you wanted to do some air logistics to bring critical supplies from one airfield to the next, you can do that on these paratrooper planes. And the light bomber. It says light bomber, but they're pretty similar. I think it has a slightly lower bomb drop rate, but its maneuverability is better. But they're pretty similar, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. This one has 2 machine guns, one on the rear and one on the top. It does not have one on the front.
All right, it's time to talk about the next big feature of the Airborne update, which we'll start up with a video here.
So we only showed a couple of new regions there, but there's quite a few more than that.
Yes, 10 in fact, but more than that technically because we had to alter some of the existing maps a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot more changes to the world than just adding 10 new map regions. But why don't you talk about a little bit of our motivation for adding these new regions, Max?
Yeah, sure. So we really liked the symmetrical view of the world, but it was we had to add some more maps because something we were feeling was that the naval gameplay was getting somewhat suffocated. Like there wasn't enough space to really maneuver. We watched a bunch of you guys' really great YouTube videos talking about the naval battles, and they tended to happen across 2 regions, even 3 regions, even, which is super awesome. But like that's the whole ocean. We needed more space if we're going to add aircraft to it, which could cross 1 or 2 regions or more, right? So we had to somehow add space, but we didn't want to take away from the land game. So we felt like we had no choice. We had to expand out. We had to create more playable ocean space so that you guys could have battles that didn't play out the same way every time.
I mean, and one of the big things that has been talked about before is more ocean space. Like that's something I've seen a lot of players talking about since before naval, even just having more like ocean tiles in general. So this was a good time to do it, and also it adds a lot of variety and new ways to interact with like the airborne gameplay and the naval gameplay. So one of the cool side effects of this is we get to explore a little bit more of some regions in the lore that maybe we hadn't previously. So a lot of the new, I think all of the new northern regions are in Nicknevin, and all the southern region, all the new southern maps except for Lycos Isle are in the in Veli. So we have even more Velian maps as well now. So that it'll be kind of cool. And some people who may have followed the development and all the way back to our old our older map concept art will recognize some of the names that show up.
Okay, I'm gonna actually show the new map before you guys keep talking.
Yeah, well, and one thing I will say too is some of the visuals are still work in progress, so just keep that in mind as we go into the dev branch and stuff like that.
Yeah, same with this map image. This is a work in progress, so you'll notice the mountains are really hard to see. That's just work in progress, but you can, I think if you zoom in, you can probably gather a pretty good idea of what's being changed here. I think the main thing you want to look at is how take a look at the roads on these new larger islands, these multi-region large items. They're somewhat different. I'll let you guys speculate about what that means. You'll notice we've had some places. We made Fingers basically a whole island because of how awesome it was and how much you loved it. But what we really loved about the Fingers, we noticed from a lot of you guys' gameplay, was that Fingers reached into Reaver's Pass, and that was a big part of the reason that people really focused on it, and it was the center of so much conflict. And we really liked that, so we kind of did the same thing in several places here. We wanted to reach into the mainland so that you guys, when you take this island, it actually has meaning. Taking this larger island means like an easier jump off point for actually getting back onto the mainland.
All right. Are we done yet, Max? I think maybe we have a bit more here. Yeah, actually, there is something cool here. Where we talked a lot about this update, about about planes, about the graphical overhaul, about the new maps, and there is actually a second update we worked on to include in this airborne update, and we're gonna show it to you now. Naval Warfare Part 2, Max?
It just keeps going. No, this is not really Naval Warfare
No,
Part
it's
2.
not.
This is
Overselling it,
let's
And that's not all though. But anyway, that's just a teaser.
we would love to come back to Naval Warfare, but this is not that. So this is what we've really wanted to expand on was the early war naval gameplay specifically. A lot of you guys, we watched some of the early game naval gameplay, and it was lacking. We saw barges with HE grenades. Basically, that was the
You
culmination.
don't like the barge battles, Max?
No, I really hated the barge battles for so long. So now we wanted to expand on this. We wanted to give there to be an actual game in the Navy in the early start of the game. We wanted to give more accessible naval options. Like these were the smaller groups of players don't want to build a giant destroyer to get into the naval game. But they want more than just the gunboat. So this is for them. And we wanted to give the scout planes a dedicated combat function because we don't want scout planes to really stifle the infantry gameplay in the early game, like over land. So we wanted to really emphasize a purpose and a combat role that wasn't going to just be going to kill infantry and do strafing runs. So these guys, that's why they got the surface mine and the mini torpedo. Their main role is in this early war naval game. So we've got a new kind of mine, which is a surface mine, which is used for countering small ships. We've got an underwater mine, which you guys have seen, but now you can place it on the surface. But this mine is what's used for countering larger ships or large ships. And all these mines can be placed as splines now and maintained as structures. So you don't just place them down and they last for 2 days. They have to be maintained with maintenance supplies, and they can be destroyed with damage. So they're an actual structure now. The role of scout planes is to interdict logistics and to help scout for these minefields. Ships, we have a lot of different ships, as you saw in the video, that have different specific roles, like anti-air, anti-ship, and shore bombardment. And we added a new light freighter, which is meant to deliver crates directly from one seaport to another seaport in smaller amounts. It can also deliver crates directly from a seaport to a storage ship, which is the Bluefin, which you can use to support your naval landings.
Right.
So here's the mine boat. This was really cool. The work that was done on this is exemplary, and it was we used some of the stuff that comes from the construction equipment. So there's a really cool animation where the mines sort of drop off the back and then get submitted to the build site. But we'll let you guys sort of give that a shot. It's got a machine gun on the back, which can help protect it against scout planes. The light freighter I explained a little bit earlier. It represents the crates themselves are represented on the deck of the ship. So if you're attacking a light freighter, you actually know if it's full. Really cool. There's a lot of those memes of like, oh, my Bluefin was empty, but now this one there's no denying if you killed something with value. The light boat, this is used predominantly for escorting ships. This is pretty effective.
All the renders here.
And I like that each of these have deck space that, like, even if you don't want to use it for its intended purpose, you can still walk around on there with guns and use it for anything. It's a sandbox game. The medium boat. So this is the one that's meant to counter other small in the water. It's meant to shoot at other ships, the infantry boats, the freighters. It could be used for raiding, but or protecting your logistics chains. It should be noted well, I guess we'll get to the next one. So a similar thing for the Warden gunboat or the Warden medium boat. This is like their light tank of the sea, meant to be the premier way of destroying other ships. It's worth mentioning that these are shipyard vehicles. These are not facility. These are all shipyard, right? Because like we
Very
don't
key
have
point.
big vehicles for these ships yet. These are like the base vehicles of these ships. You don't need to build facilities for these.
Yeah, it's accurate to say, Max, that one of the driving forces of this is just to just allow more players to participate in the naval game.
Yep, and they're not. Maybe I'll just save that then. I'm not actually completely sure, but it's meant to be accessible for everybody.
Yeah.
And the these gunboats, the gunboats are important. They are still the only way for small ships to attack large ships. All of these other ships, they're not going to be effective at killing large ships. The large ships are still, when you see them, they still should dominate the seas. And here's the Warden siege boat. This is the Warden equivalent of the shore bombardment one. Again, remember this is early war. They will be powerful, but there are mines now to mitigate against them. It's cool that you can actually see the mines on the deck. It's not shown in this render, but that little pallet there, you can put the shells down. You actually have to walk them to the gun, which is really neat for a small ship. We didn't want to leave the large ships out in the cold. There's a lot of changes that we made to the large ships, but again, this is not the major. We'd love to make more changes to large ships, but these were the ones we needed to make now. We felt like the damage control gameplay, for players who were doing damage control, we felt like it was just way too rudimentary. It was too one-dimensional. So we wanted to give you guys more stuff to think about, more things to prioritize, and we wanted to address some key criticisms about large hulls. So large hulls can now be repaired with metal beams, but if a new leak opens in that compartment, it will reopen the large hole. So you'll still want to take these things to dry dock to repair them, but the large holes won't be as devastating as they were before. You'll still, we just didn't want you guys bailing water 100% of the operation. We just needed to give you an option to Yes. Nobody asked for this.
This has never been mentioned by anyone ever. No one's
Yeah.
ever wanted these vehicles in the game.
The Colonial Aircraft Carrier. So this one is there's two aircraft that can launch from this, the dive bomber and the fighter plane. So there's an advantage to being able to launch the fighter because the fighter is the premier weapon for protecting against like bombing runs and other aircraft. So being able to launch a basic fighter from the ocean is the Colonial's biggest advantage. The dive bombers, you'll also be able to launch from this thing to help attack and assist against other ships. And you can rearm them here as well. But and we spent a lot of time trying to like fine tune how hard it is to take off and land on these things. It will take a challenge. It will take a lot of skill, but it is doable. And it's awesome when you can. When you finally figure out how to do it, it just feels great. That elevator goes up and down. There's whole roles associated with that for like repairing and maintaining aircraft on these things. The Warden aircraft carrier. So, like I mentioned earlier, the Wardens get an extra fighter, something that the Colonials simply don't. And now I hope it becomes clear why. The point of this fighter is to launch it from this aircraft carrier. This fighter was designed for this aircraft carrier. It's you can fly in, you'll land next to the ship, and then you'll be able to crane it back up on and rearm it, and then and bring along these aircraft with you. It's a lot easier to take off and land with these, and again, you don't have to use the aircraft carrier with these aircraft. They can fly off, and you can rearm it on other places. But having this aircraft carrier is what's going to enable your naval fleets to bring the aircraft with you, to have that mobile airfield that allows you to rearm and refuel right next to the front and allow the aircraft to get the maximum out of it.
And brings us to the release date. So, Airborne's going to be arriving on February the 9th. So look out for that date. And there's something else to talk about. So we've been working on Foxhole for a long time, and to celebrate the 10 years of Foxhole development, we're going to be launching a special edition of the game on Steam. And this edition is for longtime players. We're intending it for players that have been with us for years who want to support the project and support the updates and hopefully get a few extra things. And we'll talk about those extra things. One of them, there's going to be a art book, and this is really cool. It's going to be hundreds of pages of concept art from the history of the game over the 10 years. And there's going to be lore and development notes included as a part of this. And the next thing is there's going to be a soundtrack that includes all the music from the game. And just to note, all the music is done by our local composer, Ram DePrisco, that is local to Toronto, which we're based out of. And he's been working with us for the 10 years making music for all the way from the first trailer we launched to the updates throughout the year, and the Inferno update. New tracks were added, and we've just even up till last year or a year and a half ago, we added some new tracks. So that's all included in one place here.
I mean, as a fun fact, since we're on the topic, Ram has actually also worked with us on our previous game as well, and will be working with us in the future on Anvil. So it's a long-term collaborator.
Yeah, and we're also going to be including some new exclusive illustrations that are focused on the lore side of Foxhole. These are really cool. The concept art team has worked really hard on this, and I some of these illustrations are just really amazing. I've just been completely blown away, and we're just really excited that we're going to be able to give this to you guys in wallpaper form for your phone and your desktop. And there's two in-game things, and these are again in theme with Foxhole's development history. First is you're going to be able to change your UI to be themed like prior updates. So this includes Entrenchment, Arms Race, Winter Army, Inferno, and basically all of the major update themes are going to be included here. You can switch into UI, you can randomize it, and it's just a cool thing to be able to change your background in game. And finally, there's going to be a supporter badge to show that you have been a supporter of the game.
Okay.
And that's it.
Not sure what that is.
There's no skins. There's no season pass type stuff. This is all just some things to celebrate the long history of Foxhole development, and it's gonna be coming on February 9th, but the page should be coming up now or soon.
Honestly,
Steam,
if it's not too expensive,
add it
I'll
to your
just,
wish list, so you can be notified to
get a little bit.
get it on launch day. And again, this edition is for longtime players who want to support the project. And if you are able to get it, I do want to note that a lot of the content here has been available on the website or in blog form for free for some time. A lot of the concept art, every major update, we do a blog post that contains all the concept art for the update, and that's not going to change. That's we're going to be doing one of those posts for this update as well, and that's going to remain free, as well as some of the music tracks
room
you
is
can
so empty
also get on
over
our
there.
website. So that stuff is going to change.
There will probably be a lot of new insights and look into the development that I don't know that we've talked about before, or concepts that maybe didn't
there
hit.
There are new things that are part of this, but just wanted to clarify that we're not going to be taking away anything or doing less. So that's basically it. And
I mean, I think it's a good revenue stream, honestly.
Oh yeah, so just to talk about the schedule, couple of things happening in the next couple of weeks. First, the Airborne gameplay trailer, official trailer, voiced by Jeffrey Jennings from Press Corps, who has, once again, we're very grateful that they've helped us with the trailer voiced by them, and that's something that will be dropping, I think, any moment, and hopefully we can get that into chat, because it's an amazing, well, I think the voiceover is amazing. I like the trailer too, but the voiceover always just sort of...
Dev Branch only opens January 20th.
These trailers.
It's going to be a while.
And after this stream, there's going to be a Q&A on the Foxhole Reddit. January 20th, Dev Branch opens the pre-patch war. And we're also going to be doing a concept art dev blog post. And the date's February 5th there. That may change depending on our schedule. I didn't mark that as a tentative thing, but that will be coming one way or another. And like I said, we're going to continue to post our concept art on our blog. And then finally, February 9th is the launch day. And then the one thing that we do want to stress is that we do have new updates coming in 2026. This is there is actually some content and features that we initially wanted to do for the Airborne update, but we couldn't. But that's starting to shape up into some content and feature that is going to be coming through 2026. And I think that is about it. So yeah, again, this is the end of the stream, but everybody encourage you to go over and watch the Airborne trailer, as it's cool. And that's it. That's it, Matt.
That's the Airborne trailer.
Thank you, everybody. And the Dev Branch will be launching in parts soon. And so we'd love to get your feedback on all of the features that we will be sharing with the Dev Branch, so that we can make sure that your voices are also heard on all of that stuff. And I haven't had to say this in a while, so it's I gotta like loosen up a little bit before I kind of get into it.
Stretch.
Crack your neck.
Yeah, you just gotta. But as always, stay foxy. See you next time.
Stay foxy. Hell yeah. Let me see. Let's talk about the trailer. I don't know what all that is about. Here. Visit site. Let's do it.
Where thousands of players shape the outcome of a persistent online war. A new era of Foxhole begins with Airborne, the update that brings air-based warfare, combining it with land and naval gameplay to create a seamless online battlefield.
Holy shit.
Build and operate squadrons of recon planes, fighters, bombers, and other specialized aircraft. Embark on new air-based operations, including air-to-air battles, supply line disruption, bombing runs, and more. Every pilot, gunner, and crew member is a player, working together in various roles to achieve victory in the skies. Paratroopers blur the lines between air and ground operations. Squads can be deployed behind hostile lines to cripple key infrastructure and disrupt enemy logistics.
Yeah,
Building and
still just got
controlling
blown to pieces
airfields,
by AI.
hangars, and production facilities is essential in maintaining efficient aerial operations. Aircraft consist of subsystems that can be individually damaged during missions, reducing their combat and maneuvering capabilities until they can land and be serviced. Ground crews must rearm and repair damaged planes between sorties. Anti-air weapons must be deployed to protect land forces and supply lines from enemy bombing raids. Maintaining a robust intelligence network will be critical for detecting enemy airborne invasions, including the deployment of recon planes and the construction of advanced radar installations. Finally, the largest ship in the fleet has arrived. Combining both air and naval forces, the Carrier enables aircraft to launch and engage in missions offshore, striking at the enemy from any location at sea. Airborne is an expansive update that includes several other key features, including upgraded environment visuals, new map regions, and expanded naval forces with new ship classes. A new era for Foxhole is about to begin, with a lot more to come. So prepare your crew and take to the skies.
Oh. Alright, let's see if they actually... So, let me go here.
Yeah, it's been a big update, and
So first I
finally
need
excited.
to
We've been
go
holding
to the
on to
part
this
that I
for-
kind of missed.
And you'll, like I said, air, but
started writing code about 2 years ago. I could be off by a couple of months, but yeah, I think it's been
Started lagging out with
support,
the
so I wouldn't
ships.
In the
all right. Naval Warfare Part 2, Max.
and we added a new light freighter, which is meant to the light boat. This is used predominantly for escorting ships. This is pretty effective at countering like any aircraft, really. So it's useful for escorting like the larger ships as well. This one's pretty fast.
20 mil quad machine gun.
And yeah, it uses a new type of ammo that is specific for countering aircraft. It shreds the scout planes, so if you see one of these, avoid it. Similar for the Wardens, theirs is a little bit larger, a little bit tougher, but it performs a similar role, but it's slower.
Drop a little bit of the renders here.
And I like that each of these have deck space that, like, even if you don't want to use it for its intended purpose, you can still walk around on there with guns and use it for anything.
30 mil
It's a
cannon,
sandbox game.
212.7.
The medium boat. So this is the one that's meant to counter other small boats. So think of this kind of like a tank on the water. It's meant to shoot at other ships, the infantry boats, the freighters.
The Warden medium boat was very lackluster,
or
but
protecting your logistics chains.
But this gives the submarine so many targets. Holy shit!
It should be noted. Well, I guess we'll get to the next one. So a similar thing for the Warden gunboat or the Warden medium boat. This is like their light tank of the sea, meant to be the premier way of destroying other ships.
Can I see?
6 chains.
This is like mirroring exactly the the differences between.
And I like that each of these have deck space that like.
What am I trying to say? The Warden gunboat right now has the armament at the front and something in the back.
Even if you don't want to use it for its intended purpose, you can still walk around on there with guns and use it for anything.
Like,
It's a sandbox game. The medium boat. So this is the one that's meant to counter other small boats. So think of this kind of like a tank on the water.
I don't know where I was going with that.
It's meant to shoot at other ships, the infantry
Yo,
boats,
what's up,
the
Doug?
freighters.
How are you doing?
Raiding, but most or protecting your logistics.
They're definitely
chains.
talking grind. They're adding more grind. They're adding more regions,
It
more
should be
territory.
noted. Well, I guess we'll get to the next one. So a similar thing for the Warden gunboat or the Warden medium boat. This is like their light tank of the sea, meant to be the premier way of destroying.
They're adding
ships.
a whole lot of stuff.
If
you want, I can post the
these
link.
are shipyard vehicles. These are not facility. These are all shipyard, right? Because like we don't have big vehicles for the.
But this is like the
these,
full
these
stream, and
ships
if you're
these are like the base vehicles.
too lazy
ships.
to
You don't need to build facilities.
watch the whole thing. I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
it's
blame
accurate
you.
to
Honestly,
say,
it's
Max,
like
that
a
one of the driving forces of this
massive ass
is
video.
just to
But there's like
just allow more
a
players
trailer
to
one.
participate in the naval
Here,
game.
here.
Yep.
Maybe that's
And
better.
they're not even. I could be. Maybe I'll just save that then. I'm not actually.
Although I
completely
post
sure,
this,
but it's meant
I don't
to be
want you to
accessible
click
for
away
everybody.
from it.
And the siege boat. So there's a bombardment. There's a way to bombard the shore with these things. These are all early game vehicles, I should note. These are like very early game. Think like the first couple days.
But
of
like
war,
the
you'll
Shatter
be able to
Missile
run
is quite
these. So they have
late
these
game,
bunker
isn't
busters
it?
early war. They are extremely powerful for busting things open near the shoreline, and that's intended so that you guys can still potentially perform naval landings
Like
early
so
on in the
many
game,
people
but they're limited to the sea. And remember,
don't
there
think
are
I
sea
watch
mines.
anymore.
So even though there's quite a powerful shore bombardment weapon now, remember there's also ways to protect against these sort of things. We did a new colonial gunboat.
What's different about this one, Max?
It has an interior space, which nobody asked for. There has been an ongoing complaint that the Warden gunboat is just superior in every way, and one of the main criticisms was that it has this interior space where players can be protected. So we tried our best to alter it in days past, and you'll notice that we still use it in the shore bombardment ship. So we've just changed its role to something new, and instead in place we've given you this brand new colonial gunboat. So they should be way more symmetric. Criticisms was of the war. You'll be able to run these.
Ah,
so
right.
They have
Yeah,
these
yeah.
bunker busters early war. They are extremely
the
powerful.
same chassis.
Busting things open near the shoreline. Criticisms was that it has this interior space where players can be protected. So we tried our best to alter it in days past, and you'll notice that we still use it in the shore bombardment ship. So we've just changed its role to something new, and instead in place, gunboats are important. They are still the only way for small ships to attack large ship. This is the Warden equivalent of the shore bombardment one. Again, remember this is early war. They will be powerful, but there are mines now to mitigate against them.
I also wonder about the range. Like,
it's cool
these
that you
things
can actually see the mines on the deck. It's not shown in this render.
outside of the screen.
The ones we need, guys. More stuff to think about. More things to prioritize.
Let's see. Disabled turrets, large ships can be repaired with a large number of metal beams. So metal beams are going to be the name of the game. Chance to disable turrets has been increased. Turrets and large ships loads all barrels at once, but with a longer reload. So depending on what kind of ship you're on, you have the longer reloads. Trying to figure out which boat benefits that's the most. Which I think it's the Colonial Destroyer. Because previously we had the frigate, which has two 68mm single barrel guns and two 120mm also single barrel guns, and then there's the destroyer, which has one double barrel 40mm gun, but also two 120 double barrel guns. So that's like 3 double barrel guns, so 6 barrels in total. Again, reload is also increased.
And we wanted to address some key criticisms about large holes. So large holes can now be repaired with metal beams, but if a new leak opens in that compartment, it will reopen the large hole. So you'll still want to take these things to dry dock to repair them, but the large holes won't be as devastating as they were before.
Rudder lock.
We just didn't want you guys bailing water 100% of the operation. We just needed
So there's
to give
different
you an
types
option
of mines
to
now.
disable that. The disabled turrets can now be repaired, but it will take a large number of metal beams. So losing a turret in the midst of a fight will still be devastating and will still give damage control crews something to think about. But you can repair it so that losing a turret doesn't mean the end of the operation. You'll be able to reload all the barrels at once with a longer reload time. We did this because we want the damage control crews to feel like they have more things to think about. So you want to communicate to the gunners. You don't want the gunner to just keep hitting R whenever they can. You want to tell them when to reload because all 3 shells are in. So give you guys more stuff to think about and do. And of course, that I mentioned this earlier, the underwater mine can be placed on the surface. So now you need to be aware of mines. So keep an eye out. You'll want people on the decks looking out for those mines.
All right. This brings us to
Interesting.
the final feature and piece of content for the Airborne update. One last thing, which I think everyone's going to be hopefully excited about.
So that's this thing. I didn't really. Did we get to see the?
All right. I think.
Wait, how does this work? So it starts with this. Where does it get the plane initially from? From the back, and then it moves it to the front? Can it not launch from the back, or what? So how does it get like new guns or new airplanes? Because if it's only able to launch 3 airplanes, then it's kind of like, or maybe you can barge in a couple of airplanes.
This has never been mentioned by anyone ever. No one's ever.
One is is the dive bombers. You'll also be able to launch from this thing to help attack and assist against how hard it is to take off and land on these things. It will take a challenge. Full rolls. So, like I mentioned earlier, the wardens get. It's awesome when you can. When you finally figure out how to do it.
But they have like
that elevator goes
caliber?
up and down. There's whole rolls.
Maybe not actually.
With that. For like an extra fighter. Something that the Colonials simply don't. And now I hope it becomes clear why. The point of this fighter is to launch it from this aircraft carrier. This fighter was designed for this aircraft carrier. It's you can fly in, you'll land next to the ship, and then you'll be able to crane it back up on and rearm it, and then and bring along these aircraft with you. It's a lot easier to take off and land with these. And again, you don't have to use the aircraft carrier with these aircraft. They can fly off, and you can rearm it on other places. But having this aircraft carrier is what's going to enable your naval fleets to bring the aircraft with you, to have that mobile airfield that allows you to rearm and refuel right next to the front and allow the aircraft to get the maximum out of it.
A little bit disappointed. I wanted the aircraft carrier to like a real one.
Brings us to the look cell players. We're in
Okay. Let's see. Let's go into some details. I think we had most of the latter part.
Hello.
Hello.
But for with that looks
All right.
Big things
this was pretty.
special. Even not only worry about use of in the sky.
This is really cool. I think these indicators are very telling. Oh, the damage looks insane.
Parts of the game.
It ejecting as well.
Aircraft can be more skill-based, region borders, similar to the land
They
vehicles.
can cross region
For the
borders,
player
okay?
on the HUD. So this is what the aircraft HUD looks like in game.
Wait.
And to go over a couple of these things here, the VSI and
Here's
the
the fuel, I
heading
guess.
are there, useful to help players find to kidder that is on your pilot. You are valuable, and the other thing, moreover, to state, which we'll get into more later, is that the planes themselves are extremely valuable resources, and the uniforms and the pilot themselves is considered a part of that
Yeah, with
value.
all the ships
So
being able
when
to
you're
be
flying
built
up
at a
there,
shipyard,
you
can you
would
steal them?
want to prefer to salvage your plane as opposed to. It doesn't require a pilot uniform. Everyone's going to get a chance to fly. Roles that players can take on. Obviously, there's the pilots, there's the gunners, and that works very
Can you
similar
steal
to how
an aircraft?
it works in other vehicles. There's other roles here, like the bomber role. You're there to manage the bay doors, and fighters can intercept, fight back. Physics more.
So pilot uniforms are valuable. That's like one of the weird parts about
At
it.
this point, Max, I think I'm going to hand it over to you.
I really like that. Might even like start to return to the airfield if you're taking you target of bombers to be able to do significant damage. We have dive bombers, which will be able to target land and sea vehicles. They'll have bonuses to subsystem disable chances. Torpedo planes will be able to.
So the Warners get the torpedo plane. The colonists get the dive bomber. Then there's the mini torpedoes, which are probably going to be really good against like the smaller ships. Then with all the mines, people must be forgetting about the submarine.
Someone in chat is like, "How do you even target?" Yeah, you'll see. It's fun.
What do you mean you'll
so there'll
see?
be two kinds of machine guns. There'll be two kinds of anti-air that you can utilize against the aircraft. Some of the machine guns are true to hit guns, which will operate very similarly to what planes could fly through and take damage. Again, true to history. Similar. So a couple of forms of the elevation. It's not
Let's see.
explosion at these flat guns, which will at least that high. This is the colonial one. Both of these, the colonial one and the warden one, are very similar in functionality. There'll be one gunner who's there for figure out the pitch. Here's the warden one. Again, functionality is very similar.
It's an anti-aircraft shell. So a separate shell for it.
For the gun that needs to point up. And the warden one coming. How do you know when to get on the AA guns? Well, we've got a couple of forms of air intelligence. We've actually split intel between land and air, so you can't see both at the same time. You'll want to see, so you'll have to set up specific structures for detecting aircraft, and then you'll have to utilize them for
storm
alerting
clouds.
that there's an air
Storm
operation
clouds.
underway.
What?
For detecting aircraft, and then you'll have to utilize them for alerting your there's an air operation underway.
Preview to weather.
So this is the very
They haven't said anything
the
about what kind
aforementioned
of resources
pitch,
cost
trying
like
to
what.
figure out the
Plane queue. So do you think they actually like they haven't said anything about actually weather was already a thing and there was already like storm and that kind of stuff, bad weather and just like rain and everything.
There's a lot
This
of
is the
questions
most
in chat. I
confusing
just want to
part.
remind you guys we will do
Hangar,
Q&A later,
aircraft
so
depot.
don't worry
I think
about
those are like combined structures or
as Mark said for earlier on,
What's this
the
mean? Hype train.
The emphasis that we really wanted, we didn't want to lose focus of what Foxhole really is. This Foxhole is what do you at? They're not the only places where you can take off some air. One for small and how we build itself. There will need to be a team of people who are keeping your aircraft running. And furthermore, they need to be out in the open. We really wanted it to be not some like UI thing. We wanted it to be all out in the open. You could see people. You can see in the back. You'll need meant to be anything. So play brief people as well.
I mean, this especially the repair part is just kind of exciting.
That's tough. Everybody walks onto the ramp and they load up onto the parachute.
It's pretty simple mechanic. You just jump out, parachute goes off. The weird thing is like they. You see that? What the fuck is that? The 20-minute stealth you get from the power drop. It has this landing gear out. Did you see? Really funky landing gear. What is that? Paratrooper plane, right?
On these, it's been like 8 months. I know you get
To surface water. Let's say, okay, that's a really weird one. He dropped the mines. I definitely like the Warden Scout one a lot more.
the community. You probably felt like it's been years, but
Oh, it's been a lot longer than that. But I think we
so it's like ammo for dogfighting of this other aircraft. If an enemy is doing a
The 20 mil will be the premiere for the
of stopping it. It's also used for dogfighting, other fighters armed and refueled. The dive bomber. This is my personal favorite.
This is one of my favorite. It's so fun. I don't know
It's so fun.
It's so fun.
You can so this is able to drop bombs on both tanks and ships. Its main advantage is that it damages the turret, or it has subsystem disable chances. So if you're attacking ships, for example, you'll want to try your best to get a precise hit on the turrets in order to disable them.
They're gonna
and
dive bomb on like battle tanks.
The act of diving.
There's actually another function for the gunner role, right, Max? You want to talk about
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that's right. There's the rear gunner will help protect the. You had to be very careful not to disrupt their experience too much. One of the most effective ways to counter it will be with fighters. So you'll want to protect them as well. You'll want to have fighter wings running alongside them, and
12.7?
possibly escape.
Does it for the colonial aircraft lineup, and
1,
now
2,
let's
3.
move on to the
Okay. Wait. 5. Okay. So, mini torpedo. So what is this? The Tulka. This one looks amazing though. Harbinger. So from what I see, and you see it very well in this snapshot. These things are a little bit smaller than the colonial fighter. A little bit more nimble, a little bit more agile. Probably have a little bit less firepower. So tag teaming in one of those is going to be... Do they have half the firing power? But holy shit. The double torpedo hit. Where do you jump out even?
Warden Scout plane. I forgot to mention this about the Colonial Scout plane. They both float on water, as you can see from the videos, which will be important later. Again, we'll talk torpedo. So again, the Warden Sea Fighter. So this.
Oh, a triple 20 mil. This thing is nasty.
This is an extra plane, which I'll talk more about a little bit later, but this is an extra plane that the Wardens get that the Colonials don't. So you'll notice the Wardens actually get this one extra fighter, and I will explain why later. This is a fighter. It's more limited in its ammo capacity. It's slower in speed than the Warden fighter, but it does provide some more short-range options, like being able to land and take off from water. The Warden fighter. This one is is symmetrical to the Colonial one, but they're not exactly the same. They both have a different feel to it. But this one has a 14.5 millimeter cannon, which is actually the AT rifle ammo, the 20 millimeter that you guys are used to. We just changed we're changing the name because 20 millimeter was a little ridiculous that people were walking around with that. So it's got the secondary armament is an AT rifle that will allow it to target lighter vehicles like armored cars.
I'm confused about this one.
As well as strafing targets. To target
because where
lighter vehicles like armored ridiculous that people were walking around.
The primary is right here.
With that. So it's got the secondary armament is an AT rifle that will allow it to target lighter vehicles like armored cars on the ground, as well as.
I need to watch
the dive bomber, able to shift on mere way of stop.
I think it's just it's a matter of HP difference.
Again, similar. When you drop torpedoes, this is important. High, and you drop the torpedo to keep the torpedo on the surface.
Actually, it's funny.
Go under.
This image looks so wanky.
So you want to try to give yourself a lot of run time, and you want to try to get as close to the surface of the water.
I think I'm changing.
Again, similar to the Colonial one, this one functions a little bit differently with where the parts carry. This one carries a little bit more than the Colonial one, but they can carry crates on them, which are represented. Actually, something I forgot to. Again, similar to the Colonial one, this one functions a little bit differently with where the parts are located, but generally speaking, it's pretty similar. There's actually something I forgot to mention about the previous paratrooper plane. They also carry crates. You can carry, this one carries a little bit more than the Colonial one, but they can carry crates on them, which are represented on the interior, which can be used for delivering them from airfield to airfield. So if you wanted to do some air logistics to bring critical supplies from one airfield to the next, you can do that on these paratrooper planes. And the light bomber. It says light bomber, but they're pretty similar. I think it has a slightly lower bomb drop rate, but its maneuverability is better. But they're pretty similar. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. This one has two machine guns, one on the rear and one on the top. It does not have one on the front.
It's a video here.
All right, the world map.
So we have even more.
Main thing you want to look at is how.
Honestly, like, okay, one good thing, one bad thing, I guess. Like, the good thing immediately is there is a lot of there are these separate islands that you can conquer and can keep, kind of like the larger islands, not like, you know, these islands where it's just like a small little island, but you know, this is part of like a whole island, you know. I don't know how. Like, that was like the reason that Tempest and Fisherman's also got a lot more popular over the years, because they were essentially big islands. And then they put this one in place of Orebreaker, put Orebreaker down here, and now it really doesn't make any sense anymore. Because like if you go from here to this part, where do you go? Like you can just instantly, like, essentially, if I'm here, or let's say if I'm here and I want to go to this part, I can cross over to this area. I think that's where it lines up. I need to figure this one out. Yeah, it doesn't line up at all. Like, I think if this was moved down, like by 1, then it would like interlock, right? Because this... So we were missing like 1 hex over here. And the 1 hex would be here, so it'd be above Piper's Enclave and below Olavi's Wake. Even like if they make a full ocean hex in there, that would be pretty awesome, honestly. Also, to get any resources to Orebreaker, that's gonna be such a massive pain.
Take a look at the roads on these new larger islands, these multi-region large items. They're somewhat different. I'll let you guys speculate about what that means. You'll notice we've had some places. We've made Fingers basically a whole island because of how awesome it was and how much
somewhat
I
different.
loved it. But what we really loved about the Fingers, we noticed from a lot of you guys' gameplay, was that we really liked that. So we kind of did the same thing in several places here. We wanted to reach into the mainland so that you guys, when you take this island, it actually has meaning. Taking this larger island means like an easier jump off point for actually getting back onto the mainland.
This is the real island battle. This island versus that island.
Are we done yet, Max? I think maybe we have a bit more here.
Yeah,
actually, there's something
like...
cool here. Where we talked a lot about this update. About we.
The Kali gunboat is... This thing is also really cool. Like, I'm pretty sure you can steal these ones. Oh boy, and the actual gunboats are gonna be insane. But then there's this thing against the gunboats. Then again, gunboats will have larger range with indirect fire. 25-hour Foxhole stream, let's go. Oh, here you can actually see the ammunition on the pallet. Wait, how much ammunition does fit on the pallet? Here is also on the pallet. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it's so uneven. It's horrible. I see 5 over there. 5 over here. It looks like it's at least three lines of 5.
Yeah, this is let's.
Yeah. And that's not all though. But anyway, that's just a teaser.
We would love to come back to naval warfare, but this is not that. So this is what we've really wanted to expand on was the aim play, which you guys have seen, but now you can place it on the surface. But this mine is what's used for countering larger ships or large ships. And all these mines can be placed as splines now and maintained as structures. So you don't just place them down and they last for 2 days. They have to be maintained with maintenance supplies, and they can be destroyed with damage. so they're an actual structure now. The role of scout planes is to anti-air to another scene, which you can use to support artillery. And it was we used some of the
Honestly,
stuff
I'm
that
going to
comes
be
from the,
enjoying those
construction
scout
equipment.
planes.
So there's machine gun on the back. So if you're attacking, killed something with value.
This thing is cool.
Escorting aircraft performs a similar medium boats. It could be used for. I guess we'll get to see one of these. And
Wait, let me go back.
gameplay was that finger.
Well, plane.
No, it's more than just.
I need to figure out like
short, which is exempt.
they showed the light freighter.
I explained a little bit earlier. The early war naval game, a giant destroyer. I don't want.
Where's the video about it? Okay. Here. Ooh. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So essentially at least 20 crates. That's larger than a truck. That doesn't seem that large, honestly. But it looks kind of fast. Maybe? I don't know. We'll have to see about that one.
Naval work. That was Bluefin with empty supplies and
I just
they tell them
scrolling through it.
Nobody asked for this. It will take
For the 10
because
years.
we already like covered this part. I really
that's
like
not
the
gonna change. That's,
latter part.
we're gonna be
They're
doing
trying to
one of
add
those
some
posts for
revenue
this update
stream.
as well, and that's
Is it
gonna
revenue
remain free,
stream?
as
I guess
well
so.
as some of the
Like-
music tracks you can also get on our website. So that stuff is going to change.
There will probably be a lot of new insights and look into the development that I don't know that we've talked about before, or concepts that maybe didn't
There
hit
is-
it. Yeah.
There are new things that are
Alright,
part of this.
I'm gonna
just
head
want
off
to
here.
clarify
Kind
that
of.
we're not gonna
I'm
be
log
taking
into a
away
Discord
anything
and
or
talk more about the
doing
update.
less.
I'll probably
So
do
that's basically-
a
let's see
a more
what
in-depth
we have.
review
Oh, yeah,
on the
so
update.
just to talk about the schedule.
But anyway,
a couple of
see you guys
things
around.
happening in the next couple of weeks. First, the Airborne gameplay trailer, official trailer,